At Cherry Hill Volvo, we offer a unique leasing option, Care by Volvo. One price with so much included. After 5 months, the options are to remain in the current lease, upgrade, or terminate the lease. The choice is yours. Care by Volvo at Cherry Hill Volvo and you.
Clean, safe, local. Your home for business is the Village of Bedford Park. Over 450 businesses strong and growing with a safe, reliable Lake Michigan water supply. Visit VOBPBiz.com and bring your business home to the Village of Bedford Park.
I haven't had Victor on in a while, and I'm glad that he's making his triumphant return to the show. Victor Fiorillo is the senior reporter at Philly Mag. Hey, Victor, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Rich?
I'm good. It's been a while. Life good?
Yeah, everything's good. You know, we're driving each other crazy, but yeah, everything's good.
Now, how was COVID for you during lockdown? Were you able to pump out a lot of good articles and get it done?
I was busier than ever. I mean, I feel like if you're a journalist in 2020 and you're not busier than you ever were, you're probably doing something wrong.
Probably doing it wrong.
Between politics and COVID. Yeah, I had plenty to write about. I was on vacation in Center County, Pennsylvania, up in Bellefonte last, I guess, May a year ago, and my wife and kids were in Philly, and I heard about the riots in the wake of what happened in Minneapolis. So I rushed home for that, and then we pretty much didn't go anywhere for quite a while.
Now, do you always do every year for Philly Mag a best of list and a worst of list, or do you just do the worst of list?
No, so Best of Philly we've been doing since 1974, and since I started here in early 2000s, I contribute a lot to the Best of Philly list. And once in a while, we do the worst of Philly. We have a new editor this year, Kate Daly. And I guess maybe a month or so ago to her, I said, hey, what if we bring back the worst of Philly? And she said, what the heck, why not? So she unleashed the beast, as they say.
I'm glad because I think worst of lists actually unite us, and people are always divided over best of lists. But worst of lists, we kind of all agree.
I think that in this case, generally speaking, I hit the nail on the head with most of the worst ofs in terms of, things that we could rally around as being the worst. And, in some cases, I'm sure there are some things that people will disagree with. But, hey, it's my opinion.
All right, so let's start. Worst list of 2020/2021, the worst of Philly list by Victor Fiorillo. Let's talk about it. So what's number one?
And this is not ranked, but the first one that appears is the worst thing about Wawa. Now, I think that there are a lot of bad things about Wawa. Don't get me wrong. I love Wawa. Gotta have my Wawa. But, things that you love, you're more critical of, right? You want them to improve. So, like the hamburger they came out with, terrible. We could go on about the bad things. But the worst thing about Wawa, and I know you have a lot of listeners in Delaware County and other places where there are these Wawas, the Wawa parking lots. I don't understand how, basically any other retail experience you have, generally speaking, you can go park and you cannot have a dramatically stressful parking experience unless, it's Saturday afternoon or Christmas Eve and you're going to the King of Prussia Mall. But in terms of, a corporation that has a uniquely and consistently bad parking experience, anybody who ever parks at Wawa will agree with me on that.
And we do love our Wawa, and we got to have a Wawa, and we're willing to brave it, but it's not always an easy experience.
It's really terrible. People, I opened this up on Facebook for people to nominate the worst Wawa.
No, the worst one, I know what the worst one is. I'll tell you. Belmont Avenue in Bala Cynwyd. That one is a death trap. I'm telling you right now. I used to go there all the time before the show. That when we were up in the old studio in Bala. That one, oh, man. You got to be careful there.
It's odd that they could even get that approved, right?
Somebody got paid off. I mean, let's be honest. Come on.
Now you're moving into libelous territory, so I'm going to stay clear of that one.
Just kidding. Just
I don't need
kidding.
the Bala-Cynwyd Township commissioners coming after me.
All right, worst reopening after COVID, when life started to get back to normal and lockdowns were lifted and freedom was coming back. What was the worst reopening?
Well, the worst reopening hasn't actually reopened yet. It reopens this week, and it's Martin Luther King Drive. So early in COVID, they shut down Martin Luther King Drive, which is, for those readers and listeners who don't know, it's the drive opposite Kelly Drive along Boathouse Row, so on the other side of the Schuylkill River. So they shut it down to motor vehicles entirely so that people could go outside and enjoy the fresh air because they couldn't enjoy much else, go biking, jogging, walking right down the middle of the road, not having to worry about cars. And when I tell you people were coming out, they were coming out. We were talking like 5,000 people on weekdays and 10,000 people on weekend days. I mean, that's a lot of people enjoying, the outdoors when, so many restrictions were in place. And now on August 4th, because the city has to mess up every good thing, they are going to reopen the roadway. They are arguing that, it was inconvenient for some people who would use it as a, way to commute to and from work or wherever they had to go. But if you look at the roads around there with Kelly Drive and the Schuylkill and other roads in, West Philly or Winfield, there are other ways to get around. So kind of scratching our heads over this one and really not happy about it. How unusual is it to have, just a big roadway that you can just sort of party on all the time and do your fitness thing. And, now you can go back and do it again, but you've got the cars filling the road. And, that comes with nuisances and potential dangers. So we're not happy about this one.
Not happy about the road reopening. Yeah, it's one of those things about COVID. There were some great improvements to life after COVID, no doubt about it. But then there's some things that Philly just can't seem to do. I love this, and we've talked a lot about this on the show. The worst simple thing that Philly just can't seem to do. What's that?
Pick up the trash. I mean, come on. I can't remember the last time that my trash and recycling were picked up on time. And when they are picked up, frequently they're thrown into the same truck. So you got to explain that one to me. So I'm spending all this time teaching my kids how to recycle and yelling at them, don't throw that plastic bottle in that trash can. And then you see them take the blue bucket and they dump it into the same truck with the trash. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know what's going on with the sanitation department in the city. It's easy to blame the sanitation workers, think they're being lazy at their jobs, but I don't think it's that. I think that the officials above them just haven't been able to figure out how to provide this basic service. I mean, they had a lot of problems during COVID with workers getting sick, and the other problem was that the trash piled up because people were home doing home renovations that they weren't doing before. Everybody was stuck at home, right? So we had more trash. Well, trash pickup is just one of the most basic of municipal services, right? So
it's like the most basic function of a government. Pick up the damn trash.
Right. And, you have more trash, so you got to figure out, okay, how do we pick up more trash? I love last year, Mayor Kenny was giving a press conference that I was at, by which I mean I was on the Zoom press conference he was giving. And he was complaining about, he was targeting the problem with the trash in the city is not the city, not the trash trucks. It's the people of the city who don't know how to properly package their trash. So that is true to some extent, that you have people who, they put their trash bags out and maybe they're not tied up correctly, and then you get trash on the street. But you get trash on the street because they don't come on time, right? If I put my bags out in the morning and you come and pick them up, there's not much time for things to go wrong. But if you wait 3 days, 4 days, in some cases, I've heard stories of people who haven't had their trash picked up for 2 weeks. Well, naturally, that trash is going to wind up all over the place.
Victor Fiorillo is here. His worst of Philly list for Philly Mag, which I love. The worst of things unites us. It's fantastic. Now, this might be my favorite on the list. The worst sandwich.
Oh, I don't think we might not have done Worst of Philly this year if not for this sandwich coming into existence.
In other words, this sandwich was so bad it inspired the entire list?
Yes, and it is the Philadelphia Flower Show's grilled veggie hoagie. So if you go to PhillyMag.com right now, you'll see the worst of Philly list, and the very top piece of art is this quote-unquote grilled veggie hoagie. Now, any self-respecting hoagie eater will take one look at this picture, and they'll just say, oh, no. What it is cheap frozen vegetables that have been thawed out, maybe steamed, I don't know, and thrown onto some random roll. Now, as if that's
it looks
not
like,
bad
you know what it
enough.
looks like? Those old mixed vegetable frozen bags you get at the grocery store for like
Exactly
$1,
what it
and
is.
it's the carrots and the green things and that nobody wants, or you get it as a side dish at a bad restaurant.
I mean,
That's what it looks like.
The summer camp food when I was a kid looked better than this, right? The cafeteria food at public school looks better than this. So not only did they try to pass this off as a grilled veggie hoagie, but they also charged, no, not $8, no, not $10, not $12, $15 for this terrible sandwich. And, listen, one group of people that I don't particularly like to make angry because I've made them angry before and it wasn't fun, the vegans. The vegans got one whiff of this on Instagram and they went absolutely nuts. So, yeah, I mean, the flower show was a big flop this year. They did it outdoors. They didn't have enough staff. The lines were super long. It was incredibly hot, which obviously they couldn't control. But then on top of that, you add this insult to injury, the grilled veggie hoagie. May it never rear its ugly head in Philadelphia again.
I mean, the picture is hysterical. We got to tweet out a picture of this thing. It's like something my mom would have made when I was a kid and we didn't have any money. You just grill up, steam the veggies in the bag and then throw them on a hoagie roll.
Oh,
It's so bad.
Imagine. Can you imagine waiting in line for this sandwich and paying $15 and sitting in the sun after you've been outside for 3 hours and you unwrap your sandwich and this is what you see?
This has got to be a 7,000% markup for them. The hoagie roll's 20 cents. The frozen veggies are 50 cents. The worst decision in Harrisburg. Let's think broadly now. The state of Pennsylvania, what was the worst decision they made?
Right. I mean, there's so many to choose from, but the one that affected those of us who like a little rum with our Coke all know that the to-go cocktails that were so popular during COVID, during the height of the shutdown when restaurants and bars, were largely closed, and they were able to, the legislators decided, okay, let them sell to-go cocktails, which is something you couldn't do before, which many other cities do, right? Well, they did it. It was a lot of fun. You could get a gin and tonic and sit with your friend 6 feet apart, of course, in the park, have a little cocktail. Well, a couple of months ago, the brainiacs in Harrisburg decided that it was the end of that. So they had to kill our fun, and I find this just further proof that politicians, and really all politicians, they just hate us. There were no big problems as a result of these rummy roadies, as I call them. There was no evidence that there was an uptick in DUIs. There were no viral videos of fights outside these bars of people drinking to-go cocktails. No, they have their own little reasons.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Government people do hate us, and this was just another freedom we all enjoyed, and was a way to help restaurants and bars, too. Everybody was happy. I don't know who was complaining about this. I feel like it was almost Governor Tom Wolf punishing us for maybe passing that constitutional amendment. I don't know, but either way, nobody's happy about this. You're right about that, Victor, no doubt.
And, you called it right. It's a punishment, whether it's Wolf or somebody else. Somebody back there is doing the evil scientist laugh, rubbing their hands together. I've got them now.
And speaking of governments that hate us, the agency that hates us the most is the most incompetent, the Philadelphia Parking Authority. So now this is amazing to me, and they screw up all the time. They can have their own worst of screw up list, but this one in particular, oh my God, tell us about it.
Yeah, I've covered the parking authority a lot in my years at Philadelphia Magazine, and there have been so many problems, complete failures on their part, and they continue. Well, Action News this year did a story about a person who was told by the Philadelphia Parking Authority that she owed $7,000. She had a $7,000 ticket on her car.
Oh, my God. Oh, man.
It eventually, I think she wound up getting a city council person or a state legislator involved or something like that. And it turned out that there was a clerical error. The person who wrote down the license plate used the wrong letter or number or something like that. There was a red light camera involved. It picked something up. Yeah, I don't know. It was very confusing. But at the end of the day, the PPA told this poor woman, you have a $7,000 ticket. You have to pay that ticket before you can get your car back.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Just abandon the car and buy a new one at that point, I guess.
Well, at that point, yeah.
And I could do this all day, but I do want people to read your list. But I do have to, and I agree with this now, the worst letdown of the year by far. Go ahead.
You know, all these many months we hear about Brood X. And, you know, me as a journalist who likes to write about, you know, terrifying things that are going on, I was waiting for swarms of Brood X to be covering children in Rittenhouse Square and moms to be tweeting out and Instagramming photos of the horror of Brood X. And what happened? Nothing. Now, I know that in some of the western suburbs, depending on what neighborhood you lived in, you had some cicadas here and there. Now, some people are complaining that there are cicadas now, but what they're talking about are the annual cicadas that we get, the year-to-year ones. But the Brood X, this was just one big letdown. I was waiting and waiting. I was ready to Instagram and do viral videos and get myself an extra 2 followers by tweeting out some photo. But just what a huge letdown. I mean, really, just it was like Al Capone's vault, right? When Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah, when Geraldo opened it up, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we'll have to wait another 17 years. I'll be, oh God, I don't want to add those numbers up, but let's just say I'll be at retirement age, and I'll hope that I still have my sight and my hearing enough to detect the Brood X when it comes out 17 years from now.
Victor Fiorillo, Philly Mag. Go read the rest of the list. There's great stuff on there. I could do this all day. The worst of Philly list, really, we might need an entire show for. So well done, my friend. On Twitter, at Philly Victor, and check him out at Philly Mag. Thanks again, Victor. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich. Take care. Have a good one.
Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hey, we're the hosts of Pod Save America. Every week we break down the political news that makes us laugh, cry, and scream into the void with a conversation that's entertaining, informative, and hopefully useful.
We try to be serious without taking ourselves too seriously because we all have to stay in the fight. Democracy is under attack, and there's a whole right-wing machine that's counting on the rest of us to give up and check out, and we can't let them win.
So join us. New episodes of Pod Save America drop Mondays and Thursdays. Listen for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everyone? I'm Carmelo Anthony. And while you may know me as a basketball player, there's a whole lot more I'm ready to talk about. That's why I started What's in Your Glass, a show where we'll sit down for a glass of wine and a conversation with the biggest names in sports, music, media, and entertainment. Listen and follow What's in Your Glass, a presentation of Cadence 13 and Creative 7 with me, Carmelo Anthony, now for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Odyssey now has hundreds of new exclusive music stations for you to discover your new summer soundtrack.
Get moving with worthy workouts for a cardio sesh fueled by today's top artists.
Hanging with your crew? Throw it back with Picnic Party for old school jams for your cookout.
Or sail away with Odyssey's new yacht rock station, Jugger Yacht.
There are hundreds of new exclusive stations to check out today.
For summer barbecues,
road trips,
or relaxing poolside.
For every mood, every interest, every passion. By Odyssey. Brought to you in part by Macy's and Geico.